G'day, welcome back to the channel. Look, I'm an influencer. I'm holding my microphone. I'm only doing it because there's nowhere to clip it. I haven't got anything, this jacket, I couldn't clip it to that. It makes a rustling noise. Anyway, why am I here? Well, because, as I've said so many times before, the hobby is in jeopardy, and today, more than ever, it's in jeopardy. And why is that? Well, because at Leipzig airport in Germany, they found an FPV drone with Semtex on the ground. Well, it wasn't on the ground. It was actually flying at the time beside, I think it was a large Antonov transport aircraft, Ukrainian Antonov transport aircraft. Someone there swatted it to the ground, like it didn't go off. Geez, I tell you. But the drone had 400 or 800 grams of Semtex, different reports say different things. And yeah, everyone's really worried now, because if this thing had have gone off, there could have been massive damage, deaths, injuries, all sorts of things. And we knew this was coming. We knew it was coming. As a hobby, we know that sooner or later some bad actor is going to use our toys to do something bad and something stupid. It happens in the theatre of war, but this was domestic. This was at a domestic airport in Germany. So this is going to be the turning point for restriction and regulation, I believe, in our hobby. Now, the big question is, well, was it the drone or was it the explosive that was the issue? And my point would be, well, you can't buy Semtex or any other explosives without already having to get the right authorities and certifications and permissions. So the drone is the least of the problems. If it was just a drone, yeah, it's a drone. But a drone with a bomb, that's a big thing. That's a big problem. And it's more the explosives than the drone. Anyway, so they found this thing. And the interesting thing, I mean, we could have told these people. We did tell these people, these regulators, these idiots who try and make rules without understanding what they're regulating. They came out and said, remote ID will prevent this. Well, rubbish. The drone had obviously flown into the airport confines. Nobody knew it was there until somebody saw it and swatted it to the ground. So it didn't have remote ID. Oh my God, who would have thought? A bad actor didn't follow the rules, didn't follow the law and put remote ID on their drone. Ooh, well, do you think someone could have told these regulators that would happen, don't you? Yeah, of course we did. We told them it would. Remote ID does, it only penalises, it only controls those who are law-abiding, and they are not the problem. So, yeah. And also the whole thing is that it looked like it was a drone. I couldn't see any sign of a camera on it. So although Leipzig Airport does have drone detection facilities, they're completely ineffective because this drone probably wasn't transmitting anything. It was only flying. It was probably on a waypoint mission. There's been speculation, and I say speculation, that it was controlled by a mothership drone flying overhead because a DHL flight apparently hit something. They don't say it was a drone, but it hit something on approach. Didn't cause much damage. But if it wasn't for the fact that there was a 5-hour time difference, you could say, well, maybe that was the mothership drone and it was being flown visually from that drone, sort of line of sight from the drone overhead, which is why it didn't need to have a camera, why it wasn't picked up. But anyway, all this stuff is irrelevant. What we're looking at here is now regulators and authorities have an excuse to come in and say, we must regulate FPV drones, because this was apparently a store-bought FPV drone, bind and fly, which they must have ripped the camera out of, and it's anyone could have gone and bought one, but not anyone could have put Semtex on. People are saying it must be a state actor or someone with access to explosives, which is not your average guy in his back garden. So the hobby again is not the problem. We are not the problem, but we will be penalised because this problem has occurred. So they're almost certainly going to go ahead and try and introduce measures that will restrict access to FPV drones and the parts from which we build our FPV drones. So I can see drones, pretty soon FPV drones will be treated like firearms. You'll have to get a license to own one, a license to buy the bits and pieces. Everything will have to go on a register. So you buy a motor, you have to get it approved for that purchase, and then you have to account for the motor after you've bought it. It's going to be a nightmare. We're just lucky that this drone didn't go off. It wasn't successful, whatever its mission was. It could have blown up an Antonov, it could have injured people, could have killed people, but it didn't, because whoever made it obviously didn't have a clue, and the bang stuff didn't go bang. But it does mark a turning point where we're seeing a domestic attack, not in the theatre of war, not in Ukraine, but in a domestic airport in Germany. So I believe that we're going to see some knee-jerk reactions from the regulators. And I put this to AI, I put it to Germany and said, what's the guts? And I pointed to the situation with 3D printers. Now, in some states in the USA and in Australia, regulators want to impose significant restrictions on the use of 3D printers because these people in their ignorance believe you can buy a roller filament, a 3D printer, and make yourself an AK-47 that'll fire hundreds of rounds, which is absolute, I think everyone here probably knows it's absolute rubbish. You can make a stock for an AK-47, but you can carve it out of wood as well, and you're not going to ban files and chisels and bits of timber, are you? Of course you're not. So the problem is that these regulators, they're stupid, they're ignorant, they don't know what they're doing, and they want to be seen to be doing something to save us all from the horrors that is 3D printing and FPV drones. So I'm expecting we'll see, sooner rather than later, legislation proposed that FPV drones become regulated and subject to a permit to purchase, and parts have to be subject to a permit. You have to pay money, you have to be audited. It's going to be just a nightmare. A hobby will be ruined, not because of anything we've done, but because regulators just don't understand the futility of much of this stuff. I mean, if the person or the people who were responsible for this drone could get their hands on Semtex, then putting restrictions in stopping people from buying motors and flight controllers and bind-and-fly drones, it's not going to make any difference. If you can get your hands on Semtex, you can get your hands on anything, right? So, but they don't see it that way. They were going to go out to the public and say, we're protecting you, we're thinking of the children, we are going to make sure that people, evil, bad actors can't buy these off-the-shelf drones and can't buy the bits to build them. Yeah. So be prepared. And the thing that worries me most of all is, as a community, as a hobby, we're not prepared. I keep rolling this out time and time again. Look, we must be prepared to push back when this happens. We must be prepared to anticipate these events, because they will happen, and be ready to respond with intelligent, well-thought rebuttals to the claims that these regulators and the media are going to make. We have to be ready. If we're not, we're doomed. And I think probably we're doomed. It's terrible. Our only retreat may be in ultra-small drones, as I say, sub 250, but even that, I think we're going to have to go down to 150, because, they'll say, oh, these little drones could still... Have you seen the video Slaughterbots? Oh, God, it's got little tiny whoops shooting people. It's just ridiculous. And again, it's all make-believe, but stupid politicians and rule makers will see this and go, oh my God, even the little ones can kill. It's ridiculous, it's outrageous. But, what do we do? What do we do? I don't know what we do. But I want to bring this to your attention. Bring it to your attention that it's just a situation we are going to have to deal with. And this time, they didn't succeed. But next time, they might succeed. They may well succeed. And they're fighting a losing battle, because the fact that this drone was able to make it to the tarmac and hover around, on the taxiways, indicates that their drone detection systems are no use. They don't work. Nobody knew it was there until someone walked up and swatted it and crashed it onto the ground. So all this expensive gear, what a waste, because it looks as if this drone didn't have a camera, so it wasn't transmitting a video signal. It was probably a waypoint mission, so all it was doing was receiving GPS signals, wasn't transmitting anything. It was just fully autonomous. So the only way to detect that, you can't detect that with these RF systems. You've got to have acoustic, you've got to have millimeter radar or infrared, that sort of stuff. But even those things are easily... there's easy countermeasures against those. If you wanted to get a drone into an airport without being detected, well, number one, you'd build a glide drone, a drone that you could tow up with a model aircraft or another drone somewhere miles from the place you wanted to go, and then release it. It would have no motors. It would have no thermal signature, because it's a glider. It'd be largely polystyrene, so its radar profile would be extremely low. And you'd do it when there was foggy or there was rain, because then your millimeter radar on your LiDAR will be totally ineffective. So there's no way to detect a drone like that if it was on a mission which was to be doing no good. So really, maybe they should talk to me. I've got some ideas, but they won't. They won't listen to the people who know the most. I mean, I've got some ideas for counter-drone solutions, which if I had a lot of money and a lot of time, I'd probably implement. But I don't have time or money, so they'll stay in my brain. If someone wants to come to me and ask, I'll share the information with them. But I see so many counter-UAS companies doing the same old rubbish, and it's ineffective. It doesn't work. We've proven that at Leipzig this week. Anyway, what can we do? I don't know. I'm going to have a think about it, and I'll get back to you. But you tell me what you think. Go to the comments. What should we do as a community? What should we do as a hobby? How are we going to prevent ourselves going on even a more offenders list and having to get permission, big permission, to buy a new motor if you break one, or buy a new flight controller if one burns out? What do you do? It's not the way the hobby should go. And I find this especially interesting in light of the DARPA challenge that's on at the moment. Some fantastic flying machines there. And if you take away the freedom for people to play and experiment and build their own drones, these challenges won't happen in the future. When they issue the challenge, nobody will come, because nobody will be building drones. No one will be able to enjoy the creativity, the fun, and exercise the freedom of building a drone, because it'll all be regulated and legislated out of existence. Things to think about, governments, before you go stupid on this situation. Anyway, that's my little video from the Tokoro airfield, where I came out on my scooter, and I'm just going to go home again. Thanks for watching, guys. See you soon. And don't forget, episodes of The Airfield coming up real soon. I'll have another trailer out before then. The trailer will focus on the people and the fun, and then I'll be rolling out hopefully a month's worth of episodes at once, and I'll be doing several seasons, so rip into it and tell your friends. I mean, I want to get as much awareness as possible outside the hobby. People who just want to see other people having fun, regardless of what they're doing. They've called my earlier videos Top Gear for model aircraft, where it's more the people than the planes. The planes are just a foil. The people are the real entertainment. They're the real key to the fun in these episodes. So share word around. Hopefully we get some more people viewing than just the people who regularly do. That's me. I'll see you in the next one.